Peterborough's Muslim Community Radio, broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Good evening! You're listening to the Tech Factor live with me, Akil, and my co-host, Joel. How are you?
Yeah, very good. How are you?
Very well, thank you, sir. It's nice to see you.
It is.
Looking very sharp as usual. We've got a packed hour, a 20-minute deep dive into the Online Safety Act and what it means for platforms, creators and everyday users. A close look at Google's brand new image model called Nano Banana and other AI features, and 10 bite-sized cool tech stories that I guarantee you'll want to hear. Now, if you want to get involved, you can call us on 01733 602 133, or you can text the show on 07411 191 062, or message Slam Radio on social media, and we'd love to hear from you. So let's get into it. Quick headlines before our main segment. Ofcom's implementing the Online Safety Act duties. Platforms are being asked to prove how they protect users. More on that in a moment. Then we've got Google's Gemini image model have a fresh upgrade that's already trending. And remember, phone lines are open. We really want to hear from you. And before we do that, Joel, how have you been and how's your tech life been since our last show?
So, summer has come and gone since our last show, I think about 4 weeks or so ago, and what a month it has been in the world of tech. Looking forward to diving into that with some cool stories.
Awesome. No, you're absolutely right. I have bought a pretty cool, just things that we've done. I've bought a pretty cool case for my phone, which is no longer looking as thin as it was, because I need to protect it. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into this then. So, the Online Safety Act, passed as the UK's flagship online regulation, places new statutory duties on a wide range of services, social media, search engines, and large user-to-user services to tackle illegal content and to reduce the risk of harmful but legal content, especially for children. Ofcom, I should know this, they regulate us. Ofcom is the regulator charged with enforcement and has faced implementation. The Act is designed to move the responsibility from users alone to the platforms that host content. For context, the government explainer and Ofcom guidance set out duties, enforcement powers, and timelines. Now, there's going to be some arguments in favour and against that me and Joel are going to go through, but just from that itself, what's your thoughts, Joel, on this?
So, the first thing is, it seems to have taken everyone by surprise, but it was first thought up in 2019.
Correct.
Yeah, so there's been plenty of time for people to perhaps get used to the idea or challenge the idea, or imagine life, once this sort of thing comes into effect. So from 2019, it was outlined in white paper. 2021, it goes into, becomes an official bill, and then it goes through the Houses of Commons, and refinement processes and royal assent and all this kind of stuff. But the biggest change that we've had recently with it, Akil, is the fact now that most main websites that have the potential to host adult, and this is the potential to host adult content, now is asking for age verification. And it seems to be the sticking point where most people are sort of then coming unstuck at that point, is because then they are seen to have to give across forms of identification or credit card numbers or facial scans and things like that. And that's the bit that people have all of a sudden, it's in your face, and that's the kind of thing that people are then pushing back on and seem to be angry about, and why it's all of a sudden in the forefront of everyone's minds. So we'll explore that a little bit more.
We will do
as we go along.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Nadine Dorries, former Tory MP, now defected to Reform today. She was the person who pushed for this act in 2019. Now let's have a argument for. Okay, so argument for clearly would be stronger protection for children and vulnerable users. Platforms must assess risk, reduce discoverability of harmful material, and use safety by design measures. That's the legal duty, and it matters because children's exposure to harmful content has real-world harms. Evidence-based moderation and transparency can help parents, schools, and authorities. That's got to be a good thing, Joel.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that it also has the ability to empower users as well. Mm-hmm. The legislation that they require on major platforms provides adult users with more tools to control the content that they see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's is the main narrative has been about protect the children, think of the children, things like this. But the adults are also have potential benefit there from being able to control, their news feeds or other feeds that they may be, experiencing, and things they don't want to see and that kind of thing. So again, it's.
I think the other side as well, I like what you said there actually, but the other side of it would be enforceable standards and corporate accountability. The Act gives Ofcom enforcement tools, fines and direction. It pushes platforms to act rather than rely on voluntary policies that vary widely between companies. It also helps create a consistent baseline standard across service. And the reason why this is important, Joel, is if you look at, I think it was TikTok recently, they are adjusting their business model and have reduced their moderator count across the world, including here in the UK. Saying, and a lot of I've seen interviews actually and documentaries of people who used to be moderators for Facebook, and they describe the most harrowing things that they've seen and how much of a psychological effect that it's had on them.
Yes.
And so one of the things I liked about this is that, like I just said to you there, is that the voluntary policies or just the policies, they do vary widely between the companies.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, Facebook, we mentioned Facebook there. Now, they actually became compliant a long time before the deadline that we've recently experienced, and why it's sort of, the bonfire sort of flared up and then everyone's talking about it and there's petitions being signed and all this kind of stuff. Actually, Facebook did it a long time ago. I remember being contacted by Facebook and, they were quite clear and they were saying, we need you to send your driving license in to us and we need to verify your age and this is why and all this kind of stuff. So I'd already experienced that with Facebook way before they were sort of forced to. And I think that because the implications of not being compliant were, extremely large, 10% global turnover, £80 million fines and things like that. Although these companies are multi-billion, tech organisations, they still don't want that kind of fine, against their name or any kind of, mud thrown against their name or anything like that by not being compliant. So some guys are already being compliant way before the last, not the last bit of this legislation came into effect, but one of the most major parts that affected the end user came into place.
Interesting. I think the other element which we haven't mentioned yet, but I think is equally important, is the transparency, isn't it? And reporting should be improve public trust. Mandatory transparency reporting and independent assessments mean people like yourself assessments. We can see what platforms do and then hold them to account. I think it's been very much a secretive thing, isn't it? Like you raise a report that you've seen something or there's been an interaction, whatever it may be. But once that's gone, you have no idea what's going on with it. For all we know now, because we're all about AI, it could be an AI agent or something that deals entirely with your query now.
Absolutely, yeah.
You raise a case file, a timestamp of a file, linked to a message, video, something that you've seen or been sent to you, goes as a query to an AI, a bot. It searches an archive, finds it, and then using its own technology, whether that's scanning the file, the wording, whatever it may be, makes a decision just like that, comes back to you and says, there we are, but we don't know. No,
I'll tell you what, that reminds me, later on in the show, I've got a wicked story about AI bots.
I'm looking forward to this.
That's a very good and very funny story about AI bots on social media.
So now, of course, we've just been talking about some of the reasons for the Act, and I think as parents as well, I think having more control over what our children see or don't see, trying to protect them and their young minds as they develop through life is really, really important, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I as a parent myself, I can only speak for myself and, and what we felt. And honestly, we did actually give a little sigh of relief because we were just like, because up to this point, it is and has been very much on the parents to police
Correct.
the internet at source, at your own address, at your own home, and whatever. In the same way that IT departments in businesses will be policing the internet. You know, they're going to be looking at what users are doing. They're going to be blocking certain websites, certain URLs, and things like that. You know, there's plenty of corporations out there where you can't browse social media. You know, anything, you know, .xxx domains, you know, none of that kind of stuff can be...
USB ports are blocked off.
Yeah, all blocks at firewall and all that kind of stuff. But in home life, you know, and up to just recently with the Online Safety Act, is you've literally just got a button that says, I'm over 18 or I'm not over 18.
Yeah.
Yeah? And that's...
Not more than that, Jojo.
That's just no
You'll
good.
get a capture box, you tick it, you don't have to work anything out.
Yeah.
It's just like, what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? Yeah, it almost what's the point? Yeah, you're absolutely right. But now, as a parent, you know, and especially if you're not, you know, we're tech savvy parents, you know, we can put into place screen time restrictions. You know, we know how to use our firewall, and we know that we can block things at home, you know, that protect our children. But now there are so many loops that they have to jump through. It's made it way harder for them. And I feel happier knowing that, you know, my child is protected more, I feel, online than he ever was because of, you know, of what's happened. So
that's great. You are right. There are many parents out there who don't have the same level of IT literacy as we do. And so they were already struggling. So as far as they were concerned, a child needed a device. What device do you want? Okay, but if I get this for you, are you going to finish your GCSEs or whatever it may be? Yes. Hands are over the device. None the wiser. Completely none the wiser.
Yeah, we've talked about it before on the show before, many times about accountability at the parenting level.
And it's not there because they don't have the literacy.
Yeah.
Or the experience.
Yeah, and while many social media platforms have in their terms and conditions, you know, users have to be 16 or over, 18 or over, parents are still creating accounts for their children. You know, lots of parents don't understand necessarily the parental controls that sites like Facebook, TikTok, and those kind of sites, YouTube and so forth, offer children. You know, they have a lot of built-in protection already. But even for me as someone that's quite tech savvy, they are still quite complicated to navigate and set up and administrate, and you know, they're quite cumbersome and that kind of thing. So, you know, in terms of someone basically just sort of like turning that tap off, yeah, I think that's definitely a positive.
Okay, let's look at the counter arguments then. Okay, so straight off the bat, freedom of expression and over-moderation risk. When platforms err on the side of caution to avoid fines, legitimate speech can get removed or even hidden. The chilling effect worries journalists, researchers and critics. The law draws lines between illegal and harmful content, but, you know, operationalizing those categories at scale is messy.
It is. And, you know, we've just been talking about it as parents. Well, what if we weren't parents? But now all of a sudden content and things that we regard as our freedom of speech have all of a sudden just been hidden from us unless we then provide some sort of proof that we are who we are and we are old enough to view that content. So you can imagine why people are upset that aren't necessarily parents, that are all of a sudden used to having this freedom, you know, just click, 18, I am 18 and over, let's go, you know, and looking at other things that people want to look at online. All of a sudden that freedom, and I think most importantly the word anonymously here, yeah, that's a really important word that we'll talk about with some of the rest of this. Looking at that anonymously, that's all of a sudden just been taken away.
And that must have been the shock, you know, the first
time. That's the shock. Yeah, that's the knee-jerk reaction. Why there's petitions, you know, to have a look at it again in Parliament, and you know, so many sort of backlash about it.
Okay. Another point would be technical capability and its unintended bias. Automated systems don't perfectly differentiate context, satire, or nuanced content. Errors disproportionately affect minority voices, and smaller platforms may struggle to meet compliance costs. The Act's burdens may favour large incumbents who can afford compliance. It's a competitive concern, surely, Joel?
Yeah, burdensome and impractical for businesses, how some people have been describing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Some tech companies and startups are arguing that the compliancy and regulatory burdens of the Act are immense. So established huge companies, Meta, Alphabet, Reddit, all Tumblr, Facebook, all the rest of them, and TikTok and stuff like that. For them, it's something that they can, implement. But if you've got someone out there that is a bit more of a startup, look at Wikipedia, for example. Wikipedia have actually launched a legal challenge against the Online Safety Act because, for a start, Wikipedia is not the first thing you think of when you think about protecting children. But again, going back to my point earlier, you have the potential for Wikipedia to have, information on it that isn't necessarily suitable for younger people. And you need to remember as well that Wikipedia is essentially completely crowdfunded, yeah? And the administrators and moderators on Wikipedia are done anonymously and largely on a voluntary basis as well. So again, you think Wikipedia, you think, oh, well, they're one of the giants. They've been around since the beginning of the internet. They've been around forever. But even they're quite unhappy about how they're going to fully implement it across their absolutely huge site that has absolutely tons and tons of data and information points, and that kind of thing. So, they've actually gone as far as actually taking on legal challenge to see if they can change it in some, change the Online Safety Act in some way to benefit them and smaller people because of the burdensome and impracticality for businesses that some people have raised.
No, that makes sense. And the other one, of course, is enforcement practicality and international content. The internet is global. UK-only rules rely on platforms' cooperation. There's also a risk of regulatory capture or inconsistent enforcement if guidance is vague. Ofcom's phased approach seeks to mitigate this, but it remains an implementation challenge. Joe, we've been in the software IT game a long time, and we know that a wide-reaching impact such as this is going to be an implementation challenge.
Let me hit you with some other facts.
Hit me.
So, while that is a against argument, we are not the only country that's considering it. So the US has recently come out and are considering something similar, but they've got nothing on the table at all at the moment by the looks of it. European Union, they are well into rolling out their they're called the Digital Service Act from the European Union. So that will apply across all European countries at that point. Had we still been in the European Union, that's the one that we would have then, ended up adopting. Let me hit you with some of the facts. Australia have had Online Safety Act in some form or another since 2021. The Canada is looking at it. Ireland also since 2022 have had something in the pipeline. Singapore, New Zealand, there's other countries out there doing it. Yeah. So these global companies, these huge global companies, they're not just doing it for the UK. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are looking at it as a global rollout. Because there's lots and lots of other countries out there that are looking at similar measures.
This was gonna happen, wasn't it? Because the companies themselves weren't doing enough. Really, we had so many people either committing suicide. We've had people found with horrific amounts, different types of child abuse images and videos and so on, crime, terrorism, and so on and so on, and every single time you'd see like a politician or somebody come out and say, look, we need this social network to do more. But they weren't doing enough. So this was coming, wasn't it?
Yeah, even off the back of the Online Safety Act, the crazy amount of propaganda, of misinformation spreading, of bots just, memeing and all that kind of stuff. It's been insane. There's been so much misinformation out there, and there's been so much finger pointing, and I definitely know that there are political parties that are sort of for and against it, and some of those that are against it are using it as a beating stick for the other parties, to gain advantage on the political landscape and things like that. So it is extremely volatile, and ultimately, you're right. Playing with the platforms haven't been doing enough, to the point where now we actually think that's a social norm, that kind of misinformation spread is a normal thing that just should happen on the internet.
Exactly.
You know,
You're right. So what does this mean for you? Creators should be aware of platform rules and appeals processes. Parents should use the platform tools and talk about digital habits. And we, as a public, should push for more clear transparency reporting and independent oversight so that safety doesn't become censorship by default.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all like some stats. Let me give you some figures. So the actual Google searches for
I like how you just moved your fingers as you did that.
I'm typing air typing.
Yeah.
So search terms, specific search term, how to get around age verification spiked 450,000%.
Wow.
After it came out. The search term is VPN legal in the UK spiked by 380,000% as well.
Wow.
And there's lots of there is sort of a lot more traffic now, going through third-party VPNs and things like that. So
yeah. I mean, I think I saw one of the politicians say this is so easy to navigate. You just need the VPN and blah blah blah. It's not. Just because you know how to do it, we're talking about the masses here.
We're talking about the masses, yeah.
We're talking about the masses. If you're tech savvy, then you're going to find a way, no doubt. I did see an interview with somebody who was saying, well, now my data is going to be, my actual personal data will be sat on a server somewhere in the US. So a picture of me, my driving license, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm not happy about that. Unfortunately, I think this is the beginning of something bigger. It's personal opinion. I think eventually at some point we will be exchanging more of our personal information to organizations online. I just think that's the way that we're going to head. Not necessarily about censorship, just about who you are.
Yeah, and I think that argument is a lot like, shutting the stable door when the horse has bolted.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Because I think that the counter-argument of invasion of privacy and Big Brother and all this kind of stuff, I think that, that horse has already bolted. We are already tracking you, because you're on Facebook and your good self. I know when you've been to the mosque. I know where you've been to eat.
Yes.
Yeah. I know everything about
where I'm dropping my
where you're dropping off and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And everyone's been doing that for years already.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're creating dating profiles. They're creating social media profiles. They're uploading pictures of themselves. They're checking into places. Even before that, with the likes of credit cards and store cards and things like that.
Well, you're forgetting another thing from our background.
We've always been tracking you.
ANPR cameras.
ANPR cameras.
So
yeah.
you're driving your car and you've gone from one city to the next. You've clicked through a bunch of ANPR cameras. You've given who you are, what you're driving, where you went from A, B to C. A lot of crime has been solved through the ANPR network.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. So then you've got your credit card. Where have you spent your money? Spot on. Where your car's been? Spot on. If you're on the radio like us, you can see where we are. And it's the other bit, like you said, where we voluntarily give this information.
Passport, driving license.
And the one other one that you haven't mentioned, I will now, is the devices that we keep in our pockets. If it's an iPhone, you can locate someone. If it's a Android device, you can do the same. You can literally pinpoint someone who's sharing their location with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would then go on to argue, if you are then maybe ashamed or scared or worried about not being anonymous on a platform to view specific content, then maybe, just maybe, you perhaps shouldn't be looking at that content.
And
if you feel ashamed to look at that content and you think, I don't want anyone knowing that I'm looking at this content, I want to get a VPN, I want to continue just to click that yes I agree to cookies or whatever button, maybe you shouldn't be. Yeah,
I agree with you.
So again, you're already being tracked. The government, the tech companies, we already know where you've gone, what you've done, who you've seen.
And then to add to that as well, don't forget the Met Police at the carnival, and before that and now following that, they're doing the live facial recognition.
Facial recognition, yep, absolutely.
You're walking past, it's not Minority Report, isn't it? You're just walking past these cameras. Your image is being fed through a system, it's being scanned, and it's going to pull up some information about you. So the world is rapidly changing, isn't it? I know in the other half of the show we're going to be talking about AI, but just putting AI to one side for now. But if we look at ANPR cameras, live facial recognition, our phones, our tablets, and our devices, whenever we connect to public Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Someone who does what you do for a living, you can tap into their Wi-Fi.
Yeah, your ISP can see what you're doing, even if you're using incognito mode. You know, incognito mode does not hide what you're doing.
No.
You know, what you're looking at, your ISP can still see all of that information.
But if you go through a VPN, it can't, can it?
No, but your VPN provider supposedly can't. But if you remember, not that long ago, one of them did confess and say, actually, we can see what you're looking at.
Oh, okay. And then the other side of it as well is there's a rumour that even though WhatsApp say it is end-to-end, they still can't see everything. It's always been a rumour, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you see
the guy that set up Telegram is quoted as saying that his messaging system is way more stronger, better encrypted than WhatsApp.
I think the tricky point is, though, that there has sprung up a lot of age verification businesses out of nowhere that no one's heard of, and that's who you need to verify with, and they can be honeypots for cyber attacks and things like that. So it's.
Ooh, there's our cyber security expert letting us know about that. So we're heading to the break now. Do stay tuned. Lock to the Tech Factor Live.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Craving top quality fried and grilled chicken without the high price tag? At Sam's, we make every bite unforgettable. From juicy chicken to mouth-watering burgers, taste why we're the best in town. Visit us at our brand new restaurant at 33 Westgate in the city centre or our second spot on Lincoln Road. Prefer delivery? We're on Just Eat, Uber Eats and Deliveroo. Sam's, serving up amazing chicken across the UK for over 30 years.
कश्मीर ऑर्फन्स रिलीफ ट्रस्ट कोड आप ही के अतियात से हजारों यतीम बच्चों की जिंदगियां बदल रहा है। इस रमजान मुबारक में अपनी ज़कात, सदकात, फितराना और अतियात कोड को दें। नेकी और खैर के इस अमल में आपका हिस्सा अल्लाह पाक कबूल फरमाए, आमीन।
Code Educational Complex, Jatla Road, Akhtarabad, Mirpur, Azad Kashmir, UK Office 0300 123 774. Code.org.uk.
2020 World Buffet is inspired by the best foods from around the world. See our teppanyaki chefs grill your food to order, or choose delicious Indian, Italian, Chinese, Mexican dishes and British favourites, all halal. 2020 World Buffet offers you unlimited food at a set price. Open 7 days for lunch and dinner. Catering, wedding and party services available too. Call 01733 566 320 or visit 2020buffet.co.uk. 2020 World Buffet, 35 New Road, Peterborough, PE1 1FJ.
Award-winning ST Complete Care provide all kinds of regular and respite care for your loved ones. Rated good by the CQC and with outstanding reviews, ST Complete Care will tailor their services for children and adults, including helping with personal and home care, medication assistance, visits and appointments too. With bilingual carers, ST Complete Care are also experienced with disabilities, dementia, autism, Alzheimer's and more. To arrange your free assessment, call 01733 303300. Caring for you the way you want.
There's simply a variety of choice at Chicken Valley, 318 Lincoln Road. And we don't just mean whether you dine in or order for takeaway or delivery. With halal dishes including peri-peri chicken, wings, strips and wraps, Korean burgers, sides, milkshakes and so much more. You'll have to experience Chicken Valley again and again and again. Open 11 a.m. until late, every day of the week. Order delivery via Just Eat, Uber or Food Hub. Or for collection, call Chicken Valley on 01733 564 053.
Busy Bunnies Nurseries is where children grow and thrive. It's where your little ones will enjoy expert care, engaging activities and a warm, welcoming environment. Busy Bunnies Nurseries also provide great learning experiences in exceptional indoor and outdoor settings. So when looking for a loving, fun and safe place for your child, visit at 627 Lincoln Road, Peterborough, now with additional parking, or online at busybunniesnurseries.co.uk. Call 01733 897799 to book your visit today. Busy Bunnies Nurseries, where children hop into a brighter future.
Craving a heavenly escape in the heart of Peterborough? Heavenly Desserts is the perfect place to relax with friends, unwind with family, or for casual meetings with colleagues. You can now indulge in our delicious brunch menu with mouth-watering savoury delights, served from 11 a.m. every day. Visit us today at Cowgate, Peterborough, the go-to spot for good times and great company. Where else but Heavenly's? Party packages available for birthdays and other celebrations. Also available to order through Just Eat, Deliveroo and Uber Eats.
This is Salam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Welcome back to the Tech Factor, live on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. I'm Akil and my co-host Joel. We've just been talking about the Online Safety Act, so if you want to catch up with that, you just have to hit the rewind button on social media. And now, we're going to be discussing Google Nano Banana and other AI features. So, Google's Gemini image editing stack has a new model iteration that reviewers say maintains character likeness across edits, allows outfit and style transfers, and produces highly consistent results when editing multiple images of the same subject. Early reactions show developers and creators impressed by the quality, while privacy and deepfake concerns have surged because the bar for realistic edits is even lower. Google's own product notes and early reviews describe both the capabilities and experimental nature of generative editing. Tell me, Joel, someone who's in the Google sphere, how's your journey with Nano Banana? And let me say, I love the name.
Okay, well, the name, let's address that to start with. So in a future show, I think that we're going to be covering Android in detail.
We are.
So we'll be able to go through all of the cool, funky names that they give their releases. Nano Banana being this one, that we just happen to be talking about today. But previous Android, if you remember, iterations.
Jelly Bean.
Jelly Bean,
sorts, yeah.
Kit Kat, I don't know, Key Lime Pie or whatever the rest of them were.
That's right.
We'll go through all of those in future shows. So if that kind of stuff interests you, then definitely tune into that show. But Nano Banana, oh my days. So I think to coin a poker phrase, at the moment with Google, I am all in. So I've paid a little bit extra. I've got the Pro, not the Ultra at £250 a month, whatever, but I've gone up the next tier from sort of free to Pro user.
So you're in your digital Las Vegas, Joel, are you? I'm just picking.
Yeah, I'm all in on the Google train. So instead of going for something like ChatGPT Pro or Perplexity Pro or whatever, which are all kind of similar sort of monies, I've gone all in with Gemini because a couple of reasons. Not only does it completely integrate now with like your Google Workspace, which helps you sort of do more things efficiently within your Google Workspace. So you've got tasks, keep, calendar, email, docs, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Nano Banana. Oh my days. So when I first started using Gemini, and I wouldn't say benchmarking, but we just talked off air about how you kind of like flip-flop between one generative AI and another generative AI, and one does it slightly better than the other and all this kind of stuff. So at the time I was sort of flip-flopping between Gemini and ChatGPT, and Gemini had a massive issue with generating images. So one image I showed you where I asked it to turn me into a Muppet, it actually turned me into Bill Cosby. Yeah, and
I thought that was fairly accurate.
It was quite funny. It was quite funny, but quite inaccurate. And there had been numerous occasions that I'd seen online where it had changed ethnicities completely, genders completely for no rhyme or reason. Yeah, and their generative sort of image. Generative image solution for Gemini at that time was poor. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, though, some people are saying now that their new Nano Banana is going to put people that use Photoshop, businesses under a lot of pressure, photographers potentially under a lot of pressure as well, because as you said in the top of this segment, one of the key things is it tries to keep the subject matter coherent, yeah, So if I take a picture of you, it doesn't change you necessarily, and if I take a picture of this room and I want to put a bed and a sofa in it instead, it will keep the walls right, but it will remove various other things. I've tested it quite a bit with putting and changing various bits of furniture in the house, for creating comic strips, to, changing me in different backgrounds and things like that. Like again, we looked at online, and I tell you what, it is very good. It is a little bit, I would say, prompt fussy, I'm going to say. Yeah, so there is very good help files out there that can actually make you get the right kind of prompt to get the output that you desire. But once you've got that, I mean, it is fantastic. Yeah, and some people are sort of saying that, it could potentially put photographers and people that use Photoshop out of business because it is that good.
Okay, and Microsoft, they've got Copilot, and that's been updated rapidly now to integrate new models across Microsoft 365, including GPT class engines in Copilot workflows with enterprise features and involving pricing strategies. I mean, of course, now we're seeing here is Google and Microsoft seeing its value across different business segments, as you mentioned, photographers and so on and others, and now they're including this into their pricing strategies, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And I think that we are witnessing a real-time technical revolution. Now, I know ChatGPT came to the party arguably before sort of Copilot and Gemini were around, but I really do think that Google now has overtaken them. And that's perhaps a bit of a fanboy view coming out there, as I've just said that I'm all in at the moment with Gemini. But the other models are very good, but I find that Gemini at the moment has just got the edge on them. I think it's got some cool features and
cool features. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's right.
You've put that experience that you've now had with Gemini with the version that you're using versus ChatGPT 5.
Yes, which I haven't. So I've got to confess, I have not touched a lot of.
I want you to do that. So basically, in the next couple of shows, I'll come back to you and just ask you, give me a little comparison of your experience in terms of speed, accuracy, and so on. That would be good.
What I do know, sorry, I want to just add on to that. What I do know, though, is one of the last shows that we did where we talked about ChatGPT psychosis and things like that. What I am under the impression of is that the new Model 5 isn't quite as sycophantic as it used to be.
This is correct.
Yeah, and according to Mrs. Babb, it also is not as good as kind of like how a human would read between the lines, and sort of if you've poorly written a prompt, it kind of the previous models 4.0 used to sort of know what they were on, or know what you wanted, where she was saying that this model, again, is a little bit more prompt fussy. You've got to be more accurate with your prompt before it will actually do and carry out the task that you want.
So you're saying Chad has changed?
Chad has changed a little bit. Yeah.
No, but I understand that because I've experienced similar things. Anthropic, Claude continues to expand developer-facing features and browser agent-style integrations that act inside the web. That raises new safety questions about agents that can act on users' behalf. And then, of course, we've got Apple. Apple Intelligence has been extended with on-device models and privacy-preserving features, including introduced at the WDC. But Apple's focus remains on integrity, AI into devices, while emphasizing privacy. Here's my response to that. You are so far behind, it does not matter what you say anymore.
No, now one of my cool tech stories, which links in quite nicely with that, is the fact that, it has been recently reported that Apple is in discussion with Google about using Gemini, a model for future and revamped versions of Siri.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, so instead of sort of like, let's develop our own, Siri AI, they're looking at putting something like Gemini underneath Siri. I can't think of any better way of terming it. But essentially, it's looking to enhance Siri's capabilities after facing their own setbacks in the generative AI space.
How can, Joe, just tell me, how can Apple, a $3 trillion company with the largest cash reserves in the world, not get AI right? How can they not have just gone and just bought whoever they wanted? Because I know Microsoft did it. Microsoft bought ChatGPT.
Yeah.
They bought OpenAI.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they heavily invested in it, didn't they?
Took it, I mean, so did Elon Musk, and he was unhappy about it, and then obviously he got and made Grok. By the way, Grok is quite cool.
No, I haven't used Grok.
Grok is quite cool. Grok XAI. Grok is cool. It's a different type of AI experience, and I'm telling you, you get different answers from Grok.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't used it.
But it's interesting, Joel. It's really, really interesting. What we should do is we should have a challenge, right? When the other two come back as well, is that all of us try a different AI model for 2 weeks, and then we report back on it.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun just to see our experience on it. That'd be quite cool. So basically, what you're saying to me here right now, Joel, is Gemini, for you, in your experience so far, is leading the way because it's not only an AI tool itself, right across the Google ecosystem, now into the workspace system, workspace environment as well. It's now, and this was always going to happen, wasn't it? When you build software and then go to hardware, is leading.
Yeah.
If you've got a Google device, or you've got a latest Samsung device, or whatever.
So let's speculate the future. So they've already got the ability to screen share, so you can show it the screen on your phone, on your device.
Oh my God.
And tell it, oh, this is what I'm struggling with, or can we do this? And you can talk about it and show it on the screen. Not only can you show on the screen, and upload images and that kind of stuff, but you can also share video in real time from your camera and discuss and talk with Gemini about what's going on with it. And the kind of things that, I don't know, you might be asking them, sort of the ingredients by showing them, a few pieces of food or whatever it might be, kind of thing, or other ideas and that kind of thing. But what we need to think about is where that's going to be in another year or two's time. So they're already looking in this October time this year, I think, they're already looking about bringing it, Gemini, across to their Nest devices and Google Home devices. So instead of having Google Assistant, which is currently still on their Google Nest and stuff, it's actually going to be more Gemini based. So again, when you're talking to your smart speakers, it's going to be generative LLM AI.
Joel, the level
instead
of mining information here is incredible.
Yeah, and I think that it's only going to get better. I know Google's listening. Google, if you're listening, what I'd like to see.
Sundar Pichai, if you're listening.
If you're listening, we know you do.
We know you do. So let me rephrase that too. So, Mr. Pichai, go ahead.
I just want to see more seamless interactions between Drive, Photos, and the rest of the workspaces. So at the moment, there's a couple of little things that I've wanted to do, and it's all right if you're in emails. Gemini's quite happy. If you're in documents or whatever, Gemini's quite happy. But as soon as I say, okay, take this from here and do this into Photos, that's where it's all sort of that's where it all kind of like falls down a little bit at the moment. But I think it's just a matter of time before I can then start to say, okay, take this image from my emails and put it into Photos, and then or take it from Drive and put it here. And the other cool things I'd like to see as well done more of is all of my really mundane tasks. So at the moment, I would have to set up either complicated scripts or use a third-party website like If This Then That. I'd like to see more sort of control within Gemini for external sites and things like that. So if I want to book my gym sessions, which I do every single week at the same time, I go to the gym Monday and Thursdays, and I go at the same time at 6 o'clock, I want to be able to say to Gemini, book my gym for next week. Yeah, because I'm already using Chrome, I'm already using Google Password Manager. Yeah, so it should know my password and stuff to log into my gym website, and it knows at 6 o'clock it needs to be booked. So what I'd like to do is I'd like it to be a bit more helpful with the mundane things.
Would you want it to be proactive? So it suggests to you, hey Joel, do you want me to do this for you? And you just say yes or no. Yeah,
so the reminder side of it like that is quite good at the moment. So yeah, so taking that on the next step, rather than me saying to it, book my gym for 6 o'clock, it would be like, oh, hi, so blah, 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 let's book your gym tonight at 6 o'clock. Oh, actually, I'm going out tonight, so don't do it tonight. I want that level of interaction
Okay, well,
instead
I've just
and
got
stuff.
a text that's just coming from Mr. Pitcher himself. And he said, can you ask Joel to say please? Sounds cool. I think that's an iteration away.
I think it's going to happen. Yeah, I'm just speculating about future things and stuff now that I'm sort of like, it'd be really cool if it did this, and I'm pretty sure it's going to at some point.
Wow. No, I think you're right. It's interesting to listen to you and how you're using AI in your everyday life, and I think I use it every day for different tasks, mostly to do with business. I haven't yet got myself to the point where I'm using it personally, although recently I've got Perplexity Pro, and I've been playing about with videos and images, and I've never laughed so much alone in my office.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Honestly, and then when I've put in a prompt and then asked for XYZ, then I've seen it take that and create its own prompt, which was even longer. Right?
Yes. And
then I'm watching it in real time, preparing it, and then when it comes out with it, I literally fall over laughing. It's absolutely brilliant.
So a good, not hack as in cyber hack, but a good tip for anyone using these sort of generative AI and stuff. Get the AI to write the prompt.
Oh, that's good.
For the image or video that you want. So you say, oh, I'd like you to help me write a prompt. I want a video to do blah, 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 and kind of look like this. And you can give it something quite flaky, but then what it will actually then produce for you is that produce a more sophisticated prompt that you could never have thought of.
That video that I showed you off
and then you put that into the generative AI images or video side of it, and then you get out exactly what you're after.
I love this. Okay, we will speak to the other two fellas as well and get this AI challenge going. I think it's going to be fun. Right, moving on. Joel, can you believe it? We've not far from the end of the show. Time is flying today. I don't know what's going on. A bit like 2025. How are we? The first week of September is done.
Yeah, I don't want to mention the C word, but it's going to be here before we know it. And then it'll be 2026. And then it'll be 2030. And then who knows?
Okay, so the C word, I'm assuming being custom silicon. Anyway, OpenAI, here's my story. So we're going to do the tech stories of the week. What's your sound?
I don't have sounds tonight.
Okay, so you were just
that's
silent.
Part of our challenge. Let's
do that.
Get our generative AIs to write
a sound for us, then we play it. Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
Jingles.
So, we're doing tech stories of the week. OpenAI are planning an in-house AI chips with Broadcom. This is an industry shift to custom silicon, major strategic move to control compute and reduce reliance on NVIDIA. Affects costs, structure, and future scale, reported by the Financial Times and Reuters this week. This is massive.
Yeah, because we have to scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah. We've talked about various other technologies, and cooling of data centers and things like that in the past, and it's just gonna get worse and worse and worse to the point where actual cities are going to start experiencing sort of more power brownouts and water supply issues and things like that we are kind of seeing in some areas at the moment that have and are hosting huge data centers because generative AI is super, super hungry.
Wow.
So,
what's your story, mate?
So I mentioned 2030. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do the one that I mentioned earlier on in the show, the bot one. Social media bot war. So this is researchers at the University of Amsterdam created a simulated social media platform populated entirely by 500 AI chatbots. Right? Get this. To study their interactions. The bots, powered by OpenAI's GPT-4o, were assigned various personas and let loose on a minimalistic platform. No ads, no algorithms, no humans, just 500 AI chatbots, right? The experiments that revealed that even without algorithm interference, the AI bots quickly began exhibiting toxic behaviors as seen in real social media platforms. They organized themselves into partisan groups, forming echo chambers and following and interacting with other bots that shared their assigned political beliefs. The amplification of extremism, the most partisan and extreme content received the most engagement in the form of followers and reposts. And then emergence of influencers. A small number of the bots gained a disproportionate amount of attention compared to some of the other ones as well. So the researchers tested 6 different interventions, such as chronological feed and hiding follow accounts, to try and mitigate these negative outcomes. However, none of the interventions were successful, and some even worsened the problems. The study suggested that intoxin dynamics of social media may be rooted in the fundamental structure of the platforms themselves, rather than the algorithms that govern them.
I am stunned.
Gobsmacked. I mean, it was the most amazing article when I came across that. I was just like, wow.
Wow.
And it really, really is extremely relevant to what we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
You know, because, you know, there is this, again, mentioned it before, there is this dead internet theory. And lots of people believe that we are pretty much experiencing dead internet theory now. And for those of you who don't know what dead internet theory is, it's essentially where human interaction is outweighed by automated interaction, i.e. bots and algorithms and things like that are producing content that isn't actually driven by humans at all. And then when you see echo chambers, amplification of extremism, the spreading of sort of propaganda and misinformation and stuff like that, it's all driven by, or the theory is, it's all driven by bots. So these guys in Amsterdam University essentially recreated dead internet theory with these 500 AI chatbots, and it just turned into essentially toxic wasteland of social media, with them all behaving in the most extreme ways that we now also see in real world social media platforms. So
that's wild, Joel.
Especially when it turns around and then you try to police it. That's the wild part of it.
The other thing for me as well, it just feels too close to home.
It is. Yeah, well, you look at that and you're just like,
on X and understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're just like, this is what we see every day on X, on Reddit, on Facebook groups. What these moderators that you talked about earlier, there does get a point on the social media platforms that your content you report does get in front of a real person, and it could just be a bunch of bots ultimately.
Okay, mine is Tesla. Tesla rolls out its full self-driving and global expansions. FSD supervised updates continue to roll out in more markets, and debate about safety versus autonomy persists as software advances. This is looking good in quite a lot of markets in the world now, where they're allowing this to happen, where governments are allowing it to take place. So this was coming anyway. I think this is all part of Tesla's ambition to have that driverless robo-taxi across the world. So more of this to come. Incidentally, on a side note, talking about Tesla today, I read that Elon Musk has been incentivized to grow. This is staggering what I'm about to tell you. Okay, to grow the company. Currently, it's valued at $1 trillion. If he can grow the company in the next 10 years to $8.5 trillion, his pay packet is $1 trillion.
Okay, wow.
Today, he's worth roughly about $430 billion. He's the richest man in the world. The next person is Larry Ellison, the person who runs Oracle, at $272 billion. He is so far ahead already. But when I looked at that package, and I looked at it, so by the way, this would be values in shares that he would get as the company scales. His net value, I mean, imagine being a trillionaire, dude. But nevertheless, I just thought I'd just chuck that in there as well.
He's got a lot of damage to undo, sadly, from the
yes, this is true.
Earlier on this year, but.
Well, I mean, I think he's continuing. He's still involved.
I'm sure it will
messaging across.
Get forgotten about. I'm sure at some point. The what do you think of the new design?
Of which car?
Of the Tesla. I don't know.
Okay, so Model 3 I think looks great. I like all of them. I think they've had a good, nice, sharp design.
They've got a different.
So the Model
front,
Y, the
they?
new Model
Y,
that looks like a baby Cybertruck.
Do you think?
Yeah, from the front, because it's got that continuous light. And what I've seen is, I've seen somebody smoke that out. It looks incredible. So yeah, I like it.
There's-
Some people don't like the back of it though.
There's lots of manufacturers going for that sort of long line at the front
Yeah.
look, aren't they?
Yeah, I've seen it in quite a few Mercedes. I've seen it in a few cars actually.
Yeah.
I think it looks quite cool. I like it.
Very futuristic.
Yes, but there is in the forums and the owners and that, it's really split. You know, most people still like the design of the old one versus the new one, whether that's the back or the front or whatever it may be. I like them both. I think where we're going now really is not just technology. I mean, I'll tell you what, Joel, since I've had this one, I've already had 6 updates. And I always remind people, Tesla's so far ahead of everybody. I don't care about if you're a Chinese manufacturer. These guys are deploying so many new features over the air all the time. I've had 6 already, and every year they have a holiday update which has lots of new features added to the guide. It could be entertainment. It could be to do with security, etc. More collaborations with other third-party companies and so on. So I always remind people that it's not just a car.
Yeah.
It really isn't just a car. There's so many other things you can do, and if you've got a young child in the car, so many entertainment things you've got in there. If you're driving someone around, it is more. And until you have one, this is not a Tesla advert. I'm just going to say this quickly. If you have the opportunity to have a Tesla for a week, you will change your mind about the car. The car itself, forget Elon for a moment. The technology in the car itself are magnificent, and that takes me towards the end of the show. And if you have any of the electric car, the cars, of course, other manufacturers are available. I know Joel wants a Porsche, but anyway, nevertheless, quick final notes. We've had a conversation tonight and explaining about the Ofcom guidance. If you want more details, of course, you can see those sources online. Joel's gone through his favourite stories. The tech stories have been actually quite interesting. That bot story really is going to sit with me. But we're going to have an AI challenge in the future. You'll see that. But do stay tuned to Slam Radio, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with the Tech Factor. Thank you. Good night.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.